Welcome to Cat Pod, the complete athletic performance podcast. Alongside my coach and mentor, Brandon Petersen, I'm Chris Anderson, and we're here to share our thoughts on CrossFit, training, nutrition, health, and more. Episode number 1 focuses on the 2019 Open. So, obviously, with all the changes going on in CrossFit, and specifically with the Open, there's been a lot of banter back and forth about do the Open or don't do the Open. So I thought I'd start by asking you, what do you think? Should people be doing the Open this year, or waiting till October, or do the changes have any effect on what they should be doing with the Open?
I think it's subjective, but from my personal standpoint, I think everyone should do the Open that always did the Open, and newcomers were still, I think people are losing track of some of when they got into it, why they did the Open in the first place, what we used to push. The regionals change, that seemed to get in a lot of people's heads, yet, without kind of attacking that group, majority of folks, I mean, let's say they still did top 20, that leaves a number of people who are never moving on to the next stage anyway. And maybe a lot of those people never actually had the chance in the first place, and they still did the Open prior years. So why are you not doing it now? That's always my, I've had that question asked to me quite a bit recently. And
Right.
my instant response is, you did it last year, correct? Yes. Why are you not? Instead of telling people why you should do it, I come the other way and say, why aren't you doing it? And if it's valid, which there are some instances of people that, from a mindset standpoint or an emotional standpoint, maybe they shouldn't do the Open. But I think that's something that we still need to address, because I believe that if the Open is that influential on you and it's emotionally draining, then there's a bigger problem that we need to address. That's how I feel.
Right. Sort of keeping it in perspective, right? Because it sometimes I feel like in the past it's almost had a life of its own, and it can easily do that if you caught up in the winds of it. But trying to keep it in perspective, I think, can be really challenging when people are super competitive in your gym, or maybe take it a little bit too seriously.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think, again, you could discuss it on many platforms, but I think that everyone should do the Open because I believe it gives us an accurate gauge. It's a great way to get the community together. From a competitive standpoint, it's a great gauge of where you are relative to the field. The problem is this year, what you're going to have is, just from the lack of signups, is you're going to have a lot of people that's like, maybe they were 250th place last year. Maybe they're 150th this year. It's relative to the signups. I mean, you and I both know a lot of people, even just locally in the Northeast, that are, boycotting the Open for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, again, your placement is relative now, which, again, it shouldn't be the concern. I mean, I think I personally, I like the changes. I think they're disruptive, yes, but for a much bigger picture and to break it down from an affiliate standpoint, like me as an affiliate owner, I appreciate the direction that they're taking, where health, longevity is the major focus. And then the competition side, in my opinion, is going to grow to be something else anyway. I really don't believe they're going to have their hands on that for a long time, or honestly in the near future, just because it just seems to be where it's going. Outsource everything, focus on community, focus on health, longevity. Like I said, I do hope that's the route they continue to go and keep pushing. And from an affiliate ownership standpoint, it's actually nice. I believe it's helping us go in a different direction as well. So
How have you guys made the Open, because I know at Free you guys make the Open, events into, Friday Night Lights, and it's a big deal, and it's a big community builder. So how did that come about? Has it felt the same this year? And what do you guys plan on doing from this point on in the Open for the current?
So, yeah, I mean, Friday Night Lights is kind of, I can't remember the first time we did it, but it's definitely been a thing in our gym for many, many years. So we just had our first one. It was, I don't want to say one of the best ones, but honestly, it was way more relaxed than prior years. We don't have, 6 athletes per heat trying to video and set up angles and affecting the community. And while that was fun and our community was in full support, it still created some headaches depending on the workout.
Mm-hmm.
So this time around, eliminating that pressure from the competitors, where, again, which is a shame that that's still not there. I guess it's a twofold there, but from a community standpoint, Friday Night Lights was awesome. It definitely was far more competitive externally years prior. And I think there's actually fault in that though. When the entire focus becomes what's everyone else doing, that can skew, internal things within these athletes, within these members, because you got to look back on CrossFit. The idea was to compete with yourself, to constantly improve, remember why you're doing it and so forth in the beginning and continue that on. But with the competitive nature where the sport has gone, it definitely, led, and then they go to state by state and so forth. So you have people constantly checking that leaderboard. It created what I love that competitive atmosphere and that kind of environment, that mindset, but there's some negatives that come along with that. And I think that's where the emotional stuff came from. That's where like people put a ton of pressure on themselves. They don't, they almost the open is great when it's a year away and it's great when it's a month past, but during it's like the most stressful 5 weeks of the year,
Yeah,
it's a nightmare.
definitely.
And I don't know, I get it. That's competition though. That's like if you played a sport and you did anything, you're gonna have nerves. It's kind of fight or flight in that sense, like who strives in that, who uses that, um, you know, spins things into a positive, gets the right mindset, keeps themselves grounded, whatever it may be. But yeah, I think from an affiliate standpoint, the changes have been obviously it's just this year, right? Where this becomes no regionals, no team. The one thing that is up, I don't know, I don't really harp too much on, I'm not into the bitching and complaining thing, so I don't really care to even bring it up. But the one thing that I'd say that I looked at the leaderboard this year, and it was actually just the other day or maybe yesterday, but the drop down for the affiliate, that used to be a pretty neat thing for us to always see. CrossFit Free, that name was always, top three in the Northeast or East Coast, whatever it was where it shifted. It was always high up there. And that was meaningful, which whether that is silly in itself, that was cool for us and it was
Well, I
cool
mean,
for the community.
it's yeah, it's partly community building, right? To see your names there, there's a sense of community pride. I think that's some of the thing that people are worried about with the changes. In that, it was always something to go to regionals to support your team, and it was very, it's boosted the spirit of your gym. And there's some concern about like what will replace that if competitive CrossFit's really your focus. But I'm hearing you say, there are more things to focus on in the competitive CrossFit season than just that, right? There are
Yeah, I
different
mean,
ways you can celebrate.
I love the open. So for 8 years now, the open has been, I won't say the main focus, but damn near close to the main focus of a piece of our gym. We have obviously, so year one of us opening, we had a regionals team, I believe back. We've almost always had a regionals team. We've had individuals over the years, I believe each year. But not, again, I said this in the beginning, we went about this all the wrong way. We were so focused on competition and competitors that we actually, I personally messed that up. I should have been way more focused on community and the members, and the competitors is just like a bonus, I guess, in that sense, or, another fun avenue. But we definitely went the extreme end of the competition side, way too, I wouldn't say way too competitive, but a majority of the focus, especially mine, became that. And then maybe 3 or 4 years in, probably 3 years in, we realized there was a large gap between our community and our competitors. It was very obvious to us. This was almost like a regionals thing. You'd look at like the support that was coming from within, some of the hype, some of the energy that was within the walls, and it just wasn't lining up. And that's when we all got together. We made a real effort to take that change, to say, you know what, we fumbled there, we dropped the ball, own up to that, kind of learn from it and move on. And we've really kind of honed in the community piece and made that the priority. In the last 3 or 4 years, it's been, I mean, substantially different.
Mm-hmm.
So the open, in my opinion, it just has to take that direction. I know for us, I talk to a lot of affiliates. We program for a lot of affiliates now. And so many was like, we're not even doing the open in February. We're just waiting till October. Now for me, it was the opposite. And I've gone through recently some big changes in the business up here. So this was kind of, I guess you could say, the final open, when it comes to February. So it's always been meaningful.
Right.
The open has been this time of year since like forever, pretty much. And so for us, it was like we wanted to still enjoy it. It's something to with the winter months up here, the dark days. It's a fun atmosphere.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
nice to have
Friday.
something to look forward to, right? This time of year, especially where we are.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Wadapalooza, things like that in January. You know, getting out of New England, a lot of people enjoy that. So I always viewed the Open as the same thing. It breaks up the year. It's a good time. And again, it's biased because our year has been based on that timeline,
Mhm.
which will change now because October will be our timeline. So I'm personally unbelievably excited for the change to October. One, because February vacation is tough when it lines up for kids and stuff and families around competitors. When it lines up with the Open's first week,
Teachers.
you can't even, yeah, you can't even enjoy it. So because you got the Open, so that's pretty cool. And also the amount of people were catching colds and getting sick and so forth. I mean, I always use Tasia as an example. That one year where she
Oh,
got the
that
flu,
was
bronchitis all at once. It was crazy
that's terrible.
on week 5. So not to say that can't happen, but you're not seeing the amount of sicknesses and flu and cold and stuff in October. It's also, fairly nice in October. You bay doors, you get a much different environment, which I'm super excited for.
Do you think the changes um, will change how the Open's actually going to look? So we've had at this point 19.1 literally just is happening, right?
Yep.
Scores are due tomorrow, the time of this recording. Do you expect? What do you think of 19.1? I guess, and then what do you think the remaining workouts might look like? Do you think it's going to be more of what we're used to, or do you think there'll be some changes here as well?
Um, I I would assume, and this is because it's hard to answer this right now because so much is left for interpretation, which is the one thing that I wish CrossFit did a better job of. But at the same
Right.
time, I'm thinking logical and intelligent enough on one end to say maybe they can't because maybe there's a lot of things that they're learning from day to day versus having it all planned out. But there's just been so much left behind the scenes. And so as far as workouts, I would like to think that if you're programming for the Open and the top whatever it is, 20 in the world are getting an invite to the games and skipping a stage, you would believe that there had to be a blend of programming from Opens and regionals, which is
Hmm.
generally different each year, and it's been a progressive state. So I'm assuming they're gonna touch on both of those, but I know there's a lot of talk about Castro has no influence on the Open programming now, or does he? I have no idea. We're all in the dark. So I don't really, I don't, I know, I probably, I hate to say it and sound like I don't care, but I really don't think at all about what's coming or care to wonder the things that I can't control. I
Right.
used to. I remember my first few years sitting there on Excel sheets and whiteboards and narrowing out workouts and just taking crazy guesses on what's coming. And we were never right. And even if we were right on the movements, it's because everything else was weaned out. We still generally got the stimulus wrong, or for years you just knew thrusters were coming week 5 and it was going to suck, and that's it.
Right.
You either
Right.
trained for that or you didn't prior, and you kind of went from there. But I don't spend a ton of time and energy worrying about what's coming in the Open because it's not like in one week I can prepare them from an energy system standpoint to be prepared for that workout. It's more so, did we cover that along the ways? Did we build out properly? The I guess the question is, going forward, what the stage is like. So are they going, a lot of stuff from HQ has been super scarce. So it's open to the games. Okay. And then it's, you win a sanctional event to the games. It's just, I don't know. It is what it is. There's not a lot of answers. There's not a lot of, I don't know. I don't spend a ton of time trying to figure that out, but I would like to think that they test efficiently, or that weaning process is what does it.
You mean the other events that combine with the sanctionals and such, or do you mean the nature of the workouts as they progress through the Open?
Um, I guess both, because right, like if you look at sanctions, say looks Wadapalooza, for instance, there was numerous people who had influence over that program, which I don't disagree with or agree with. It worked. I think the program was good. It was very enjoyable. I loved Wadapalooza. It was probably, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the difference in the year, or obviously different management, but maybe if it was simply because those top two went to the games that it created much more buzz. But I enjoyed this year's Wadapalooza more than anyone's in the past that I can remember. And I generally don't watch the competition when I'm there, just the athletes, the teams, and all and so forth that I'm working with. But normally, I never really watch the events. Just don't care to kind of climb through the crowds and do it. But this year, I found myself watching way more and enjoying it, and that could be many factors could play a role in that, but I actually really, really liked it. I'm looking forward to all the sanctionals. I think it's super cool the way it's set up. Do I think they have some things to iron out? Absolutely, but I think it's truly going to come about. And I don't know if it keeps going the way that CrossFit is going, where to me they're outsourcing. That's the idea: outsource everything. Don't have that as overhead. I believe the test of fitness or the sport of fitness or whatever you want to call it won't be from CrossFit anymore. Someone else is going to take it over. That's where I believe it's going to go. That's just my personal opinion. Only if things just keep going the way they are, where it looks like they want to outsource everything, which I can't. Again, if that's the business route they're going, then so be it. Someone just needs to step up and capitalize on it and start their own.
Right. It seems like they're trying to distance themselves from the sport a bit because they feel like the focus over time has been so focused on the games and the competitive side that their major mission is almost being missed because of the focus on those other things. So, like you said, the outsourcing seems to be their course correction almost, and try to get their focus back on, the message of health and longevity and that kind of stuff.
Agreed. Which again, from I guess I'm fortunate in the sense where I've coached the individual side of things and the team regionals and the games for many years now, and that's like, I feel super fortunate to be able to do that, and I enjoy it very much. But I don't consider that to be a huge plus for my community and my affiliate, I guess, if that makes sense. Having a lot more people really get back to the beginning stages and kind of back on track with why they started this: health, longevity, being unbelievably, passionate and caring about their affiliate and the folks within, and having that shift down to all their coaches, to all their management. I, I would like to think that everyone sees that as a positive. And, I know for me, selfishly, I am enjoying this very much. And I love the way things are shifting, whether it was just me. I guess shame on me for CrossFit having to make enormous changes in order for me to say, hey, I'm going to kind of reshift focus, redo this. But personally, I've been enjoying it. So
In terms of the Open, what did you think of 19.1? You've had a chance to see athletes run through it. Like you said, you had your Friday Night Lights event just a couple days ago. What do you think about the programming itself, or what did you think about the workout, people's experiences in it overall first week?
kind of the same thing I've been saying. I thought it was great. I thought the workout was good. It's funny, you see all the bitching and complaining, and those people, they're going to bitch and complain no matter what. There's nothing you can do about that. People were looking. I will say the announcement was kind of a disappointment. There was not a ton that went into that. Obviously not a lot of money went into it, which I think is the reasoning. But I feel like they could have done a lot better job with the announcement, put a lot more effort that wouldn't require any money. They dropped the ball there, but the workout, you had people just sitting there waiting to bitch and complain and to say, I'm not doing that's the way the world works. So, and when they throw a workout like this at it, two movements, kind of monotonous, back and forth, you just give these people ammo. Now, should you care? That's, who knows? That's up for interpretation. That's on them, because they're the ones at 50% lower, sign up rates and so forth. But personally, I think the workout's fine. It's something everyone can do. My affiliate enjoyed it very much. I died, still can't feel my legs today. I mean, it's
Me
fun,
either.
right? It's fun. And I don't know. I just don't care to put any effort or energy towards bitching and complaining about a workout of which isn't going to change. And our input on this, talking on this podcast or posting it on Facebook or Instagram, trying to grab attention, grab some likes, it does nothing. Uh, Anyone who's, I don't want to say smart, but anyone who's on the other side of things, who's drawing this stuff up, they're not worrying about all the negative complaining and bitching. They're worried about simply the outcome, and does it test and does it whatever. And from a work capacity standpoint, I enjoyed the actual workout. I think everyone had a blast. Some people shocked themselves with doing larger sets of wall balls. Some people just worked that much harder, had that much more heart, right? I mean, it was all sorts of things that we had fun with, I guess. I don't think it's a bad workout. I'm curious from a testing standpoint, but it's impossible to answer that without seeing the next 5 weeks or 5
Well,
workouts or 10 workouts.
I
I don't
guess
know what they're
that's my
doing.
thing, right? That's my thing. We know first, I think it was great because it was accessible. I mean, those are things that people can do, right?
Yep.
So it's a good first workout because I think it starts everybody off. Not that you're trying to cater to complainers, like you said, with people that might complain if it was ring muscle ups or something like that, but it's accessible for a lot of people. Um, but beyond that, I think it was an opportunity for people to really kind of show how much they've done over the course of the year. But you can't judge the entire open based on one workout too. I was like you said, it's interesting to me that people would be so critical. You wouldn't judge a TV series after one episode, right? You give it a chance to run through. It's like it's hard for people to evaluate
Well, that's not true.
to
Maybe
test what
maybe
it's
you or I would, but many people would absolutely judge it based on that beginning. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't want to sound like bitter or negative towards like humanity in that sense, but yeah, there's a lot of people of the world that will solely just bitch and complain no matter what you do, solely to oppose what's happening, just so they can put their opinion out there. That's fairly normal. The whole cliche statement like, good press, bad press, but you again, I don't think there's anything wrong with the workout. I heard it from numerous people, even within. Oh, it's so stupid. I'm like, this is a workout. If we wanted to test these movements and capacity and leg threshold and some breathing, depending on where people caved and muscular fatigue, whatever it was, this would not be a bad workout. It's something that many of us across the board, from programming standpoint, all these other companies that program, all these other individual designers that would test. This is not a bad workout. It is what it is. It's just, it doesn't matter what they did. If they put double unders, everyone would say, oh, that was stupid. You're going to have people who can't do double unders. They're not going to sign up. They did that many years. If you, God forbid, had muscle ups, it's, oh, you killed half the field right away. It doesn't matter what you do. People are going to complain. So prior, CrossFit has done a phenomenal job of not caring at all what people say. That's at least how it came across. And in doing so, they built something great. And they always worked on it. They always seemed to, put the effort in to improve. Again, the only thing that I wish had gone a little bit different was the announcement and I don't know, maybe the layout and the hype leading up. It seemed really distant. I didn't even know who was doing the workout or where they were doing the workout. Maybe I'm just not as sensitive towards watching it because of the changes. I couldn't even answer that, but
no, I think that's the other biggest complaint, right? It's just about the lack of communication. But like you said, it's hard to communicate about things that are changing right before you. So I don't think it's like malice on their part. I just don't think they necessarily know all these things as they're happening. They're sort
yeah.
of building the plane in the air almost.
I mean, you see the layoffs, right? And I feel bad. There's a lot of people who are laid off, but
Yeah.
I also try to see like that's pretty much business and that's life. Hopefully, I don't know. You hear that dinging on your end? That's notifications. I'll have to eventually figure that out. But yeah, the it's sad to watch the layoffs, but that's also business. That happens all the time and no different. But the problem is, I don't think anyone saw that coming. So it's creating for an uproar. I would kind of look at the other end of it. All these layoffs, I look at some of the people involved, and this is not taking anything away from those who haven't had something figured out, but the ones who are really great at their job, who had been, kind of crushing it all along, they within a day or two, they were already out on their own, probably making more money, if not the same, or having flexibility, having the freedom. I mean, I can't see that as a negative. I'm watching some of these folks and I'm like pumped for them because they're now starting their own gig. They're
Right.
still going to get the work. I mean, I'm not going to mention who specific ones just on this, but like, guess what? Wadapalooza, they're still there. Dubai, they're still there. They're still everywhere. They're going to be at every sanctional event. They're still killing it. They're still doing the media, but guess what? They're probably getting to be more of themselves. They have no one breathing down their neck. They have no timelines. They're on their own. I see that as a huge plus, especially for someone who's worked for themselves for so long. I would enjoy that much more than working for a company and having, yes, a creative outlet, but being very limited. And I'm only guessing, I'm assuming, but and this goes for a lot of the big names and big faces that were fired and people made a huge deal of. They already have opportunity. They're going to kill it. They're going to move on. Now, everyone else, yeah, you had a lot of people that maybe you or I never even heard of. We never even knew they worked for HQ. They got fired, out of nowhere. That sucks. I'm not taking away from that, but everyone, shitting on the company, it's like that. It's kind of silly because from a business standpoint, they might be making more money now. We don't know. We don't know the back end logistics. We don't know the financials that went into it. But we do know is
Right.
that, at least from me watching it from the outside, outsourcing like they are now and the route they're going, can be very lucrative, first of all, and take a lot off the plate and have them focus on the things that matter to them, which is what matters to me for my affiliate, which is health and longevity. And yeah, I don't think any one of us, even, there's a lot of coaches out there who've coached games athletes, but if you put us, you take a large group of them and you put them in a room and you're like, hey, what's the biggest obstacle you face in growing your affiliate? We would all say the same thing. It's countering the image that has been thrown at them from, whether it's social media, whether it's ESPN highlights, which is probably the biggest. We're always countering that image to the 99% of our population who doesn't give a shit about competing in CrossFit or having, 18 abs and taking selfies all day. Like, it's just not the clientele, at least not the ones who are paying the bills, right? So we all had the same concern. And this shift, I would like to think, is going to help us in growing our affiliates and taking that turn towards health, longevity, towards new folks coming in and saying, how'd you hear about CrossFit? Oh, I saw this story on social media, it changed this person's life. That, you want to hear that more so than, oh, I saw it on ESPN. And deep down your heart, this person's never going to make the games and be on ESPN, especially now, right? So that's why I personally selfishly like the changes from a business standpoint. I still love the competitive side of things. I'm still focused on cap just as much as CrossFit Free, if not more, in the sense to grow this year. It's why we're doing this. It's why we're rolling out a lot of stuff. But I just, from a business and affiliate standpoint, I truly feel that this is a great thing. Obviously, CrossFit could change my mind if they keep going down, a path that somehow changes that. But as of right now, where there's separated things, even CrossFit.com, look at main site. I love the new main site. Much more focused on health, the links, the sources, everything about it is much better for us to refer our clients to versus the old site. So something simple, but that tells me that they're trying and they are working to change this for the best. Whether that's Glassman, you know, pulling strings, whatever it is, I personally like the changes to separate my affiliate. And I actually really enjoy the changes from the competitive side of things too. I'm excited to travel all over these sanctionals. I'm hoping to get a lot of more people out there in different divisions. I'm excited to put a couple teams for complete athletic performance through teams of 3, teams of 4, whatever it is. I think it's fun. It opens up some more opportunity for athletes. It opens up some creative outlets for us from a coaching standpoint, a programming standpoint. I know I personally am excited for it. So,
What is your, kind of get a closing thought here? What is your favorite part just about the open experience? Because although the changes have come in the season, we've talked at length about that. What about the open do you just enjoy the most?
I think that's probably shifted over the years. I just, in me being transparent and honest. The beginning of the open was, can can we get the name CrossFit Free in that top 20, which is back then what it was for teams? Can we qualify a team? That's it. I mean, so much stress went into it, so much time. We had some members prior, some folks on the team that used to help out, and we would sit there and plug every scenario possible for placements. What teams are being removed? What individuals? I mean, that was sadly the main focus. But I also know that our members really backed that. And we've had a lot of members that we've gone back and forth with over these last few weeks, few months, where they're like, I'm not doing the open. I'm coming to Friday Night Lights, but I'm not doing the open. I'm like, why not? Why don't you sign up? They're like, wow, there's no team. And it's funny because my initial reaction was like, I don't even understand that. You never contributed to the team anyway. They had no contribution to the team. They weren't going to change the outcome of the team, but seeing the name up there on that leaderboard, CrossFit Free, no individual, just the name, the affiliate name, that meant something to them. And when they were participating in the open, they felt like their efforts were going towards something. And
Right.
this is the same for the guy or girl who's on the fence, right? And they're saying, maybe I could contribute. And we all know a guy or girl over the years that did contribute that one score, and that was enormous. And we also made
Mm-hmm.
that a big deal too when it actually happened. So it was a twofer. But losing that's been kind of a, I don't know, kind of crappy thing, explaining that and trying to get, them realizing why they did the open in the first place. But so again, starting off competition, where it's gone to, Friday Night Lights for us, open is kind of Friday Night Lights for us, but it's the community, which is so cliche because that's what everyone's going to say anyway if you ask that question. But
Hmm.
I think for us, for me personally, it was way more influential than some others. I'm not like knocking other affiliates. It's just when you go from a first few years of where like competition is the only thing that matters, which is a shitty way to run your business. I'm admitting that, but that's how it was. And then you take the shift and the transfer to community only, like making that everything, you feel it a lot more. So you ride the emotions of these folks within, you see these life changes. And again, cliche, but that person getting their first muscle up in the open, getting their first toe to bar, first pull up, whatever it may be, for me, it became far more meaningful the last few years than it did in the beginning, which again, shame on me, but I've learned from it and I'm excited to move forward. But that's for me was the biggest change. Like, I guess taking that stuff more to heart or whatever it may be, just being that much more invested within folks as they grew and as those kind of, I relied on my coaches, I guess, for a long time to give the excitement back and to share that. And that was that was a fault of mine. So that's probably the last few years where my personal focus or has shifted or my selfishness, whatever it is. But the community piece, the Friday Night Lights is enormous. I was super concerned this year, to be honest with you. One, because we had a ton of business changes. Didn't know how that was going to go over. Two, open changing format, no regionals. Uh, not you didn't have the support of the individuals because we had individuals every year that were going to qualify top 20 in the world. Well, that's a different story. Now it's on the fence, depending. We had some individuals make life decisions that just didn't take them down that path, going individual within our community to take the year off. There's a lot of things that happened this year. So I was super concerned with, was Friday Night Lights even going to be a success? So we kind of went through it. We got shirts, which we didn't get, which is a shame, but they're coming. We did the photos, we did the videos, and I don't want to say it was our biggest Friday Night Lights, but it was damn close. I think we had 75 people Friday night,
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
we had 75 people do it. We had 7 heats of no, so maybe between 70 and 75. Because we had a couple stragglers that jumped in and didn't sign up, but then they jumped in and vice versa. Some people didn't even sign up for the open, but they did Friday Night Lights, which is awesome. But I'd say, just to touch on this, and I don't want to drag it on, but the best thing about Friday Night Lights for me is, especially because I'm there at 5 a.m. now, I'm seeing the AM folks. They're doing the open squad 19.1 at 5:30, 6:30, 8:30 in the morning, right? But they're back at 5:30 p.m. in normal clothes to cheer on
Cheer
the
on.
rest of the
Yeah.
community. And if that isn't eye-opening enough to say, okay, we're going down the right path, then I don't know what would be. Because and this is not a knock at PM people, obviously, because they're coming anyway, but that goes to show the community that is there when you come back 12 hours later and you're supporting the rest of your, what do you want to call them, teammates, community, I don't care, but
Yeah.
that's huge. And that's, I don't know, that's probably the best feeling in the world to me personally. So
Well, that sounds great. Looks like got exciting plans for the next few weeks with your Friday Night Lights in the open, and
yeah, yep.
we'll see what CrossFit has on the horizon for us.
That's it. Pumped to do more of these. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for listening to Cat Pod with BP and me, Chris Anderson. Please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and to Complete Athletic Performance YouTube channel. You can also find us on Instagram at Complete Athletic Performance and at CompleteAthleticPerformance.com.